lane like there is, going north.
The Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee is called to order. I think we have most everyone here. We have two missing. But shall we say a pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I have approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Second. Okay, approved. Also, has everyone had a chance to read the minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Approved, okay. Okay, so we're moving right along. I'd like to turn over to Cliff. Cliff, do you have some comments to make?
Sure. We had talked in all of our meetings about some of the enhancements and things we wanted to accomplish here this year before the season began. And for a variety of reasons, we weren't able to do that, but midway through the season, we've been able to do a few of them. Picture? Whichever picture you like. Not that one, no. So we were particularly struck by the effectiveness of the warning light on Route 1 as you come over the Indian River Inlet Bridge traveling southbound. And one of the reasons it's effective are the red and blue strobes, and it really does give drivers pause because they think they're coming up on a police car, I believe, and everybody slows down. I think even people that do it almost daily slow down. One of the things this gizmo does, it actually reads your speeds, and the lights are blue-red, but then they'll flash and really strobe if you exceed a certain speed limit. So we were able to pick one up. They were $17,000. We were able to pick one up with a grant for $15K. We just paid the additional $2,000. We thought we would have to wait before we had one delivered. They had to be built, but then we found one that was on its way to a trade show, and the vendor sold it to us. So it is set up right now, north of town. It has a different message than that on it. And we'll probably change the message that's on it to be a little bit different than the one that is just south of the inlet. But we hope it has an impact. It's just north of the town sign, and you pass the town sign, and then you hit our radar reader. So again, hopefully that'll be something that makes people think. I'm thinking that I'd like to put up $150 fine. Pedestrians have right-of-way to highlight something that makes people think that essentially that there's a fine involved, and it could be excessive if you violate the statute that says you have to stop for pedestrians. So that's one thing.
Is it movable?
Yes, oh yes. And it's solar powered. Supposedly, if it loses the charge, it can run for 16 days on the 4 batteries that it has in it. Don't know if that's true. You can program your message. It has a set batch of messages already in it, and it'll have other applications for us depending on events besides just sitting there. So these must have been stuck on one of those boats in the Pacific. We had ordered these substantially before the season. We set them up at 17 different locations in town. We have 3 more coming, so there'll be 20 of them erected. I can send everybody a list if they're interested in where we have put them. We have used them in the past, but they were anchored. These are movable. So it's possible some college kid will end up with 20 of these in his room. Or again, one of the reasons we like the fact that we can move them is when they're knocked down or whatever, then they tend to last longer than the ones that are anchored and constantly hit and abraded. So again, we hope these make a little bit of an impact, and they were something that was supposed to be here before the summer. That it? No. In front of you, this chart with the diagrams. If you've noticed the piano keys in Dewey Beach, the piano keys are preceded by a sign of a pedestrian in the right-of-way, and a marking that indicates a crossing, the XING. And that's the standard bill and fare and what DelDOT approves in their roadways. This sheet here, the one with the 4 diagrams, indicates where we will be placing them. The approval process with DelDOT has taken far longer than we had hoped, but the approvals were just received, and Brett has a vendor in queue to put these down hopefully next week. So they'll be right where all of our flashing beacons are. The work on Ashwood that needs to be done has not been completed by our contractor, and as soon as he does complete that, and as soon as we get that to bid, if we need a bid, we'll be constructing that. But Ashwood is still hanging out there as our 4th location for one of our pedestrian warning lights. So those are the things that, again, we had hoped to have done before the beginning of the season, and with the painting of these in the roadway, they'll be completed next week. So in terms of an update, we have other things to talk about on the agenda. We'll talk about them.
Okay. Next is the discussion, review, and possible vote on the wave design.
Sure. Dan came up with a great idea with WAVE, and the development of the logo sort of got lost in our transitions with John Apple. Terry took that on and went to someone that did a really, I think, a good job. And now it's to the committee, I think, to pick which one they would like. And we'll go ahead and use that and try to develop and promote it in different ways. And would certainly hope you all have ideas about how we might be able to do that also.
Okay. Dan, do you have anything to add?
Sure, a ton. Sorry, and I'll keep it brief. First of all, to Terry and to Cliff, what a wonderful product this is. This is really spectacular. I remember a discussion long ago with somebody's trying to explain to me why an architect was important, and what they said was they take a concept and they put it into a building. Well, this is taking a concept and putting it into a clear graphic design. At least, how many do we have here? 15, 20 different times?
If you want to take one part, put it in another part, as long as I can get
Okay.
a clear direction to the graphic artist, I think she'll be.
Well, that's, okay. Madam Chair, if I may, I have my own preferences just sort of in a couple of principal areas. Like I like color, I like the wave. I think it's just terrific the way the hands there and stuff. There are a couple of issues though that are legal issues pertaining to this, and I leaned on my daughter, who's an intellectual property lawyer and used to be at USPTO in Washington or in Alexandria, and so she did a little search for us. And obviously, if we're going to do something like this, we need to have someone with legal authority to do it. But in her search, and that's how they look at trademarks, she found nothing that would be in conflict with any trademark in the United States, okay?
Right, that's good.
But, and that's because of words like for safety in Bethany Beach. It really sort of presents what we're trying to do. The concept here is it's not WAVE for selling newspapers or WAVE for buying candy or WAVE for anything else. This is for safety. There are no conflicts that she could find. She had counseled also that if you put a period after each letter, then you're not just trying to trademark the word, but you're suggesting that here you've got a logo, an acronym. That's representing a program, which in some of the later editions, by the way, are spelled out quite nicely. So the recommendation that I carry from my lawyer informally is that we, first of all, we need to, I think, Cliff, if please straighten me out on this. The recommendation is that we trademark it, we protect it so that nobody else can take it and use it, and it suddenly kicks back in an embarrassment for us. The other process is the process of getting a trademark is not expensive. It's a couple $100 to make the application. But what it does is it puts everybody on notice who's paying attention that this is what the town of Bethany Beach is planning to do, so nobody can come back a year from now and say, how come nobody told me? This is what it does. By the way, if I don't sound like an intellectual property lawyer, it's because I'm not. I just had one. The other thing that she suggested is that in the work with a content designer, I don't know if they have any information about what they looked at, any conflicts that they might have developed, but it might be worth sitting down with them. And I assume this isn't a contract that brings indemnification, to the town of Bethany. This is just someone who's done some work, and wonderful work, by the way, that they've done. So first of all, lastly, again, thank you. This is, for me and the rest of us as we've been talking about it, I think this is far beyond any expectations I ever had. And I'm the guy who came in with the town logo in the middle and put wave around it, so
Well, you started it.
I have a dog in this fight, yeah, but no, these are infinitely better. So the question I have, Cliff, Terry, everybody, do we want to lock in on a particular design, or do we want to, because once you get into trademark issues and searching issues, you might have to change this, you might have to change that, and I'm worried that, a process where you got to come back and get committee approval without just having a general license to work in an area. I don't know if that gives you a little more flexibility, or if you would not like to have that.
Well, in your conversations with your daughter, is there a way that the trademark would entail all of these? Because they are in some ways distinctly different, so
Yeah.
are you saying?
I think the problem is that you would have to file every single one.
Yes, so you'd have to be, so it would be a specific, your
It would have to be
selection
specific,
would be the
yeah. Now,
TM.
Again, I can ask, but I
And
think
other
that's
things
the-
we can play off of if we want to, but we would have one that would be ours.
Yeah, I think that's true, but it might still
Create problems.
create a problem if you play off what you've got. You can defend what you've got, but once you don't use it in the way that you've registered it, this was an IACP
Yes.
issue for us years ago.
Right.
Then you lose the mark, and you lose the claim to the mark. So,
But you lose the claim to the one that you're using, not the one you've trademarked. So if we were to play off of this, we would just step down if confronted without having to worry about
I
marking
think,
all
yeah,
of them.
I
That's
think that
true.
would work.
Yeah.
I
That's
think that
true.
would work,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
That's true.
So if you, my thought was that we'd just come to the table and say, I like color, I like the wave, I like the periods, I don't think we need to clutter it up too much, but I'm not the expert. The experts are here. We don't, because a logo is really got to, I think, be simple, direct, understood when it's seen, and you can elaborate on a logo in whatever other campaign activities you do. So, but if we...
With that said,
Yep.
this is your baby, what do you think the value is for the uninformed to have the note, wait, watch, access, verify, and engage and enter? Do you think that's important?
I think it's important, but maybe as an addition to, like if you have the logo on a flyer that explains the campaign, and then each of the letters then are explained in the flyer, then you don't muddy up the.
Okay.
But I'm serious, this is ours. And if the committee feels that it's good to have the lettering there, I'm good with that too.
And
I
I'm
just don't want
curious,
to
I'm curious what the committee thinks.
Yeah, right. So,
No, I like having the words there. However, if we were going to put this on T-shirts or hats, I think maybe the watch, access, and verify is going to be too much. But that I would still go ahead and trademark it with it, because then we can use it without it.
Sure,
yeah.
but do give us direction on which one you like, so,
Okay,
all right.
okay, so,
Well, you want me to take a stab at one and just
Yeah, why don't-
suggest
yeah.
that? Okay, I have to tell you, the very first one that came up, or the second one, on the first page, where it's doesn't have the words describing, explaining what the letters mean, but it's got the wave in there, it's got the wave itself, which is sort of supposed to be reflective of the ocean in Bethany Beach. It's got for safety in Bethany Beach highlighted, and Bethany Beach highlighted, and it's got the hand waving there too. So that's the one that I like, but it doesn't have those, it may be, Cliff, maybe what we can do is do two.
Okay,
Maybe
sure.
we can do something like this one I've just described, and then to address the issue, they're all, okay, I was talking about this one, yeah. with the periods after each, or period
It's
after.
number 2.
It's number 2. I
Okay.
think the problem is that.
Yeah,
but there are
these
two
all
page
number
ones.
2s over here.
okay. So this is the color
The
page.
color, yes.
Yeah, the color page number 2.
Color page number 2. Does that make sense? And then maybe what we should be doing is looking at,
I mean, these all could be color, too.
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
I like 4 and 5, just as a, devil advocate here, because for safety seems to be emphasized here, and that, that's the purpose of the program, really.
I agree. Yeah, you should have done a lousy job on this, by the way. Would have been a lot easier to get through this.
That was my only,
No, that's a good comment, great comment. And do you want to look, Madam Chair, do you want to look at alternatives that are more elaborate as well, and suggest 2 to trademark, or are we just not going to do that?
I got a few comments there if anybody wants to listen to it. I will say 1 and 2, I do like all these. 1 and 2, if anybody pays attention around here, there's, and again, I'm not talking about copyright issues. There's orange work vans, it's big wave HVAC, and they have similar colors and absolutely identical to 1 and 2. Just the colors, it's blue and
Okay.
orange.
I'm sorry, Sarge, is that, I missed the first part of what you said. Is that a conflict, or is that?
I would just say it's just kind of blue and orange. It's just, like I said, I see them all the time running up and down the highway and along 26. It's a newer company. It's very similar to their colors. I don't think we're going to be worrying about anything down the road with a lawsuit, but it's just, if the color scheme could be changed a little bit, it won't reflect like an HVAC company. The other thing, well, if you look at 5 or 6, for those of us who have been here for a while, the police cars we used to have back in the day, the Crown Vics, they used to actually have waves on the side of the car, which would kind of be a little retro and bring a little of that back into life. So
Okay.
having more of a wave incorporating the logo, I think would be a little history,
Yeah.
bringing, coming back to life. And I'd also like to add, the town sends informational flyers to Realtor officers in the area. This is a great information, even just a pamphlet. We had somewhat of a logo that we can incorporate that and mail it off to people that pick up their rental package. Just one pamphlet with the logo, and then the word wave with the meaning of the letters next to it. On one little pamphlet, I think would be a great thing to send out to all the
Yeah, definitely.
Realtor companies too. That could be a one-page pamphlet to keep it simple. And my vote would be number 5. Like I said, just because the old police cars we used to have, it would incorporate the wave aspect and bring that back to life.
I think that's great, and it has the 4 safety.
So I like the idea of a hand wave, but I don't like the motion the hand is making. I think it could be misconstrued.
You got a point there.
So if there's a way to redesign the hand, then I think that would be good.
Maybe wave it
Something,
this way?
yeah, not like this way.
Wave it this way? Well, that would almost like say stop, too.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but.
That's good. No, you
Yeah.
you stop and be aware.
Right.
Okay.
But I love the colors.
Yeah, the color's
I
good.
do, you have a point about those, the HVAC company.
the orange and
blue, but I do- I like the colors.
Yeah.
So,
And I like number 5. I like the little head on the wave, and I like the font of the letters.
Do you think, number 5, that it could be misconstrued as a rooster?
Sure.
Yes.
oh,
So
I never-
might we take the cloud might we take the cloud off of that and?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would do it.
Yeah, just take that off.
Yeah.
I thought it was a little busy with that on top, but without it,
Okay.
it looks good.
okay.
I can see Sergeant Foley liking the rooster thing.
That would go. That's a good one. That's a good
Or using
Okay.
universal signs in the
Yeah.
rooster, yeah. Cliff, are there predominant town logo colors that we could apply here?
No.
No?
No, what's in the seal and the flags.
Jada blue.
Yeah.
If you wanted to look for an alternate color to the orange, you could use the trolley yellow.
Oh,
Oh, that's a good idea.
that's true, the
Yeah.
trolley yellow.
Yeah.
Which is a pastel. I would assume it would show up here, so.
Yeah.
Okay. would we like to vote on this?
It'd be fine with me. I think we've got great
Okay, well,
recommendations here. Is
let's
that-
narrow
are
it
they
down. We
workable?
have,
Okay.
you liked, what one was it that you
Oh,
liked?
I'll withdraw my recommendation, and I'll ride with 5,
And
as
that
has
was,
been.
Bob was 5? Okay, I can go,
With the,
5.
Yep.
five with the
Without the
redrawn
cloud?
hand,
With the
Fi-
redrawn.
5 with,
with the redrawn hand,
And no cloud.
yes.
and a different,
No
different,
cloud,
color.
redrawn.
and a different color.
Color.
Okay,
Nice.
all right, moving along. Is there anything else, Dan, that you wanted to,
No, just thanks again. I mean, how rewarding it is to,
so
with all the things
you
that
can
are
get
here.
us back that, maybe just email it to us. Yeah, that would be good. Because I guess then we have to decide
Sure.
what is going on.
Are you going to sing?
Once, we'll send it to everyone once the changes are made, and then.
Thank you, Terry.
You're not going to sing, okay.
Thank you.
All
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, moving on. Discussion and review of WAVE videos. That,
Sure.
so-
Julie, could you explain the process that we used, and then we'll take a look at the product?
Yes, so in answer to this committee's branding of this awareness campaign, Mr. Gravier wanted us to do a video series, and Sergeant Foley gave a summary of what the plan was for this series, what the goal was. And there was a lot of information to cover in just one long video. So we thought it would be great to just segment it into separate videos that we can use at different times in different campaigns. So what you have in front of you is a list of these different videos that they will be on the YouTube channel, and they all address the stat that was the most important, that Delaware has one of the highest per capita pedestrian fatality rates in the nation, and that approximately 24% of all traffic fatalities involve pedestrians. And then the ending of each one will establish the WAVE branding, and these don't have the new logo, obviously, but they will. So we'll go through.
So, and the longer ones we'll use as PSAs. We'll probably put them periodically on our homepage. When you go to our homepage, you see the 4 or 5 news headlines, and we'll alternate them in there. The PSA, the shorter one, it's our hope that, and we believe we can, you click on our website and you'll see the PSA before the site opens. And I hope this isn't too long that it becomes problematic and people, just click off and don't bother to go. But I think we have it short enough that it won't do that, so.
And we wanted to make it engaging enough so it wasn't just stats and information. So the actor that they use to promote these is going to be very effective, we think.
He worked to be engaging, yes.
He worked to stay warm.
Yeah, he did. It was a cold day.
Yes, he did.
Do
You
we
did a
get a
good job pretending
do we
he
get a
wasn't.
preview?
Yes, you
Yes.
do. Yeah. So starting with video 1
Oh, great.
would be covering the do's and don'ts of what to do when walking through town.
First one's the PSA, right? Sure, short one.
Oh, the PSA, that's the teaser.
This is a short one.
That's the teaser. That's at the
Yes.
end. But okay. Yeah. So this is the one that would lead you into the website.
Welcome to Bethany Beach, where it is important to follow all traffic rules and guidelines for pedestrian safety. And make sure you don't forget to wave. Not that wave. WAVE stands for wait and watch. Assess all traffic patterns. Verify it's safe to cross. And engage and enter the crosswalk. We hope you follow these safety tips and enjoy your time here at Bethany Beach.
And then, of course, that would be the WAVE logo.
That's good.
That's
That is
terrific.
cute.
Yeah.
Cute. That's good. Especially the
Can you
ending.
do it again?
And at 30 seconds, that's quick enough we could drop in as ads
Is this the one, it's the shorter one that's going to be shown as the PSA as you enter the site?
yes.
Where it is important to follow all traffic rules and guidelines for pedestrian safety. And make sure you don't forget to wave. Not that wave. WAVE stands for wait and watch. Assess all traffic patterns. Verify it's safe to cross. And engage and enter the crosswalk. We hope you follow these safety tips and enjoy your time here at Bethany Beach.
So
Well
that,
done.
the little disconnect at the beginning isn't what we've seen, so I'm not sure what's going on. But that might also be where we could show the logo when we have about just a few seconds of voice before the actual video starts, but we'll talk about that. All right. So just want to run through the rest of them?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Sergeant Patrick Foley of the Bethany Beach Police Department. Did you know that Delaware has one of the highest per capita pedestrian fatality rates in the nation, and that approximately 24% of all traffic fatalities involve pedestrians? To address this, the town of Bethany has installed crosswalk notification posts at all high-volume pedestrian areas along coastal highways. But don't assume traffic will stop just because the lights are flashing. Make sure to be alert and put away all electronic devices. Be aware of your surroundings and keep an eye out for turning, entering, and exiting traffic. And avoid walking traffic lanes and bike paths. You must use the sidewalks where applicable. Only cross coastal highway at the safe and appropriate times. If you're in your vehicle, make sure to be alert for pedestrians and follow all posted speed limits. And make sure you don't forget to wave. Not that wave. WAVE stands for wait and watch. Assess the traffic patterns. Verify that safety cross. And engage and enter the crosswalk. We hope you follow these safety tips and enjoy your time here at Bethany Beach.
Wow,
That's good.
that's terrific.
Really?
Hi, I'm Sergeant Patrick Foley of the Bethany Beach Police Department. Did you know that Delaware has one of the highest per capita pedestrian fatality rates in the nation, and that approximately 24% of all traffic fatalities involve pedestrians? To address this, the town of Bethany has installed crosswalk notification posts at all high-volume pedestrian areas along coastal highways. But don't assume traffic will stop just because the lights are flashing. And make sure you don't forget to wave. Not that wave. WAVE stands for wait and watch. Assess the traffic patterns. Verify that safety cross. And engage and enter the crosswalk. We hope you follow these safety tips and enjoy your time here at Bethany Beach. I'm Sergeant Patrick Foley of the Bethany Beach Police Department. Did you know that Delaware has one of the highest per capita pedestrian fatality rates in the nation, and that approximately 24% of all traffic fatalities involve pedestrians? To address this, the town of Bethany has installed crosswalk notification posts at all high-volume pedestrian areas along coastal highways. But don't assume traffic will stop just because the lights are flashing. Make sure to be alert and put away all electronic devices. Use crosswalks when crossing public roadways. Adhere to all traffic control signals, crosswalk lights, traffic lights, and bike path markings. If you cannot walk along the sidewalk, walk facing traffic and stay far to the right as possible. Yield to traffic when it's not possible to cross at an intersection. And remember to keep your head in the scope for turning, entering, and exiting traffic. When possible, wear bright colored clothing to enhance your presence. And make sure you don't forget to wave. Not that wave. WAVE stands for wait and watch. Assess the traffic patterns. Verify that safety cross. And engage and enter the crosswalk. We hope you follow these safety tips and enjoy your time here at Bethany Beach.
So there they be.
I think they're great.
I think they're great.
Fabulous, fabulous. Right, so we'll be nominating Sergeant Pat Foley for the Academy Award
Right?
for the Best Leading Actor. This is the best movie of the year, right?
I didn't recognize you with your hat on.
Yeah,
Took them a while to find it, I
it
suspect.
did. There's a lot of dust on it, right?
And his arms are finally getting color back in him. It was freezing that day.
It looks like it was gorgeous. It was cold.
Did you pay her to say something about your arms?
I did not. I did not. I do work out 5 days a week. I just want to say that.
Sure, okay.
Checks in the mail.
Good job.
Absolutely.
Good job, very good job.
Here we be.
Diane, should there be a formal motion from this committee congratulating the work that was done on this and recommending it to the council, if that's necessary? But emphasizing the great staff work that was done in putting these together. This is phenomenal in my book.
Make the motion.
I just did.
Okay.
How's that?
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
And you might want to consider, pardon me before you start, and I'm not sure if, since Faith wasn't here, maybe one of you would want to review this, and we'll put it all up for you at the next council meeting, so it can be presented to the council more formally, that you've approved it and this is what the product is.
That's a good idea.
But we'll get in the process of getting it all
And
done
then
anyway.
Faith can present it at the August meeting.
Yes,
Okay, fine.
in the committee report.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay. All right, then, I think that finishes up our section of the wave here, but the discussion and review on completing a comprehensive traffic study for Bethany Beach.
Yes. If you, materials that I handed out, if you go to the one for the traffic group, and I used a LinkedIn page as opposed to the cover page of this group's website, because this is more concise and more informative. The traffic group is a fairly large organization for what it does in this area, and certainly is the largest traffic engineering firm, specific just traffic engineering firm in the Mid-Atlantic region. They've done a lot of work specifically in Maryland, Virginia, the Alexandria area, a lot in Montgomery County specifically. And they sent a little bit of a brief flyer out, I think, to managers probably throughout the region, and had the occasion to take a look at what they were talking about, and first checked their background and their bona fides, and they're an accomplished group, if you will. One of the things they were talking about in their flyer was this sheet, the SS4A Safe Street and Roads for All fact sheet. This is part of the infrastructure bill. It was the allocation, I think, that went to the National Highway Transportation Department. And it's quite a project, if you will, that does require at the outset an action plan, and then once you have an action plan in place, you're then able to apply for an implementation grant. The action plan is quite specific in what they need and what they want, and it's essentially a very comprehensive traffic, pedestrian, bicycle safety analysis of your community, and it has some other things layered in on top of just that. You have to have an action plan in place before you can apply for an implementation plan. An implementation plan is projects. And this is, a large bureaucracy with a very bureaucratic process here, two of them. The action plans have to be, our initial discussions with the traffic group revolved around us applying for an action plan grant, because an action plan, constructing an action plan, collecting the data for an action plan can be very expensive. And it's expensive because of all the data points where you're monitoring traffic and pedestrian counts. It's manpower intensive, and it's very expensive to lay out and very expensive to process. In 2005, DelDOT funded a study in Bethany Beach that collected a lot of data, didn't do a lot of analysis, but DelDOT funded the company that performed that study for Bethany Beach in 2005, $250,000 to do the project. So an action plan can be expensive. The dilemma we have, that this has come to us, this has just come out, this was just announced in May, and the deadline for submitting your application for a grant for your action plan is September 15th. So we're having a dialogue or discussion with the traffic group if at the same time we begin to work on submitting an implementation project request grant, and the individual entity, the town itself, is the only thing, the way it's set up, they can apply because you apply on site from your site, and you can't have a third party do the application if any of that makes sense to you. So it's convoluted, and it's a little bit different. So we're having a conversation with the traffic group right now to see if they can, if it's possible for them to put together an action plan that meets the criteria that SS4A has sent out. At the same time, we're jointly working with them and beginning the implementation request. Otherwise, if we make an application grant for an action plan in September, it's due September 15th, we won't receive notice of whether or not we received the grant until the spring, and then we won't be able to apply until September to be awarded in the following spring. So all this by way of saying that we wouldn't be looking at any project funding until 24 or 25 or beyond. So we're trying to jumpstart the process if it's possible to see if they will maybe take some of our 2005 data, pick up some ancillary data at this point in time to help them create an action plan. We identify what we know would be the projects that we know have needed for years. South Pennsylvania Avenue, possible development of crosswalk at the north side of 26, other large things. Collins will be off the table because we'll be doing Collins ourselves soon. And anything else we can identify as part of that project analysis and implementation. We are waiting for the traffic group to come back and tell us what they want to do and if they think that's possible. Regardless, I think there's enough interest on the part of the town council to go ahead with a detailed traffic analysis, and at the same time, if it fits the needs of an action plan for future submittal, for future consideration, we may do that too. But a lot of that will be contingent on the time frame and the cost. We can only collect the data that we need that's relevant to what we're talking about during the summer months. So that's another problem for us. We need to do it now. So they're on cue to do some things for us with another project we have them working on regarding speeding on Route 1. And I don't know if they'll be able to fulfill this other request we've made of them. So that's where we are. We will be doing something, whether it's part of this action plan or the council moves to do something independent of that, I can't tell you at this point in time. And if any of that made sense to you, God bless you. So.
Yeah.
Question. This reminds me of the old LEAA days where a state put together a planning grant and it submitted that to LEAA. It approved the planning grant, and then it gave you money to implement the plans that were in the grant. Are there any limitations of funds in either the action plan development or the implementation, or do they just leave that question wide open? So
the specifics for the action plan are between 200 and 1 million, and the project's a significantly larger amount, and that amount escapes me at the time, but it's significant. The total project allocation over 5 years is $5 billion, $1 billion a year. So it is significant, and the awards go directly to the requester, if you will. They bypass any state pass-through.
Oh, terrific. Okay. So it would come directly to Bethany Beach.
Yes.
And is there any way to cut the delay or in the implementation funding? If you get
Not, and the traffic group has a lot of direct contact with US DOT and made the inquiry for us yesterday on the time frame. So it would be spring, submittal the following September, notification the following spring, and that's the process. And the process is also set up, for instance, so the application for the grant, you can't ask the traffic group to do the application for you. You, the entity that's requesting, has to do it itself on their website.
Right.
So.
Right. Got it. Thank you.
So it's a 2-year process.
It would be multi-year process. It would be 2 years just for us to get to the implementation, let alone
Implementation done, yeah.
a project. So
And then you have to bid it, and then you have to.
so it'd be several years in the future. If we can somehow jumpstart it And that's probably unrealistic, as in my conversations with the traffic group today. Maybe it's unrealistic. They said they'll look at it and they'll be getting back to me here, so.
And if I may, just one other quick question. In terms of what the grants will fund, do they fund personnel, or is it just sort of equipment and lane changes and
There's a broad range of topics, but it's not personnel related.
not
at all.
personnel? Okay. Well, that's a shame. Thank you.
Cliff, I do have one question. Does this, one of the things that we're looking at in analyzing, for analysis is Route 26
Oh, yes,
with the biking and the
Mhm.
pedestrian?
right.
Okay. Now, when we start this, if we find out there's a need, is there something that we can do ahead of time, or do we have to wait through this whole process?
What type of?
I mean, if there's something that we think is so critical that should happen before 2025.
Oh, yes, yes. I mean,
Okay.
if, independent of anything that happens here, this is just us trying to get in queue for funding for what might be
the
major
funding.
improvements.
Right.
Other things that would be, say, cost us significantly less, an analysis that tells us that it would behoove us to consider putting a sidewalk on the south side of the park, running a sidewalk to the north side of 1 and 26 and establishing a crosswalk there, picking up the data that would help us approach DelDOT to approve that request. That would be something that we could move quickly with and wouldn't be a great expense. And other things like that should come out of a complete plan. So our interest, my interest, the town's interest in SS4A isn't so much for the action plan, it's for the implementation of the project approval and funding. We'll do the study, I think, one way or another, independent of that.
Okay.
And I think there's a commitment on the part of the council, bad, to go ahead with those resources to do something like that.
So the committee can go ahead and think of some projects.
Well,
Or this,
I think what comes out of this is the analysis from the professionals that come back to you to tell you what their recommendations are. And I don't think they probably want us to game the system by us telling them what we want
Yeah.
what the outcome to be, so.
Thank you.
Just a quick question too. Cliff, is it within the realm of possible that if there was something that the town wanted to do, but it would fit into a master plan at some point, is the government considering reimbursing you for things that it didn't previously approve?
I don't know what the reimbursement policy is with this, and I wanted to have a discussion with them, especially as we go forward. If we decide that achieving this dual process and submitting it by September 15th is something we can do, I'm curious, and I have not asked the traffic group, for instance, can we be reimbursed for the cost for the plan? So I don't know if there's a reimbursement process here or not.
Okay,
That's a good point.
thanks. That'd be great.
Very good point,
Yeah.
reimbursement. Okay, is there anything else?
Well, yeah, Sergeant Foley, have there been any bicycle safety checkpoints set up this summer?
I'm going to go over those here soon. I was going to wait towards the end of the meeting. But I have a good few things to cover for the police department. If you want me to go ahead and do that now, and I'll address that issue.
Before I'm sorry, Diane, if we can, is there any motion that's relevant to this study?
I think it's informational at this point.
Okay. Thanks.
Good?
Good.
All right, Joe, in past meetings, I just wanted to keep everybody up to date what specifically the police department is doing regarding to bicycle and pedestrian safety. Obviously, summertime, we are more prone to bicycle and pedestrian accidents, so we go out there and do a lot of education and enforcement. May 28th to September 5th, which ends up being Memorial Day to Labor Day, the Office of Highway Safety gave the town of Bethany 24 4-hour block overtime shifts, anywhere from 10 a.m. to 2 in the morning. These shifts, as in past summers, it's 96 hours that we use strictly for education and enforcement. I'm sorry, education and informational purposes. There is zero enforcement. Not one officer intends to go out there and write a citation or lock somebody up for jaywalking or riding a bike on a sidewalk. It doesn't happen. We go out there, we pass out educational pamphlets. We refer them to Title 21 questions that they may have. It's a very brief, polite encounter. We try to correct behavior that we see in high designated areas along 100 block, 200 block of Garfield, close to Wawa. You have a lot of bicycling in the wrong direction, people pulling out of development. So we kind of target those high volume areas, and it's strictly jaywalking, people not using crosswalks, bikes against the flow of traffic, and then bicycles actually on the sidewalk, especially during those areas. In addition to that, the state assigns DUI, speed, and seatbelt patrols. In conjunction with that, they also offer distracted driving, which now in today's age, distracted driving is pretty much you being on a cell phone. It's very tough to stop for because a lot of people don't do it. What we do ever since these crosswalk posts have been erected, specifically, if you ever see us sitting anywhere in the vicinity of 1 in Central, that's probably the most common area where pedestrians cross back and forth, and the post is flashing nonstop. We cite a lot of people for distracted driving, specifically failure to yield to pedestrians for the crosswalk lights being activated, people waiting, crossing, and then a car zipping through and them jumping back and almost getting struck.
Yeah.
We cite them for inattentive driving or failure to yield to a pedestrian. It's very common. I did a very brief study, and since our last meeting, I started April 1st, we've had 29 motor vehicle collisions. Only 2 of these have involved crosswalk and pedestrians. There was one, I think, in mid-March, I think we actually discussed. A woman actually avoided a collision, struck the crosswalk post. 2 incidents have occurred. One was at 1 in Central, and the other one was at 1 in Wellington Parkway. These notification posts are working. Pedestrians, knock on wood, have not been struck. The most common accident that we've had is cars slowing down and people not paying attention and rear-ending the other car. No pedestrians are ever involved. We've had 2 of those that ended up being personal injury accidents where one of the drivers was actually injured. No pedestrians have been involved. No bicyclists have been involved. The one at Wellington, one in Wellington was on June 3rd, and that involved 2 pedestrians engaged in the crosswalk, waiting when it was safe to crossing, and then another car getting rear-ended in proximity. June 4th was right here at 1 in Central, and it was a bicyclist walking his bike through the crosswalk. So out of 29 accidents, 2 involved these crosswalk posts, and it's on negligence of drivers not paying attention. Lastly, we have 2 checkpoints. This has been an absolute, we've been going back, myself and for those of you guys that were here last year, John Fiore, he's the contact for Office of Highway Safety who was out there doing the bike checkpoints with us. It's been a nightmare getting on my schedule as well as his schedule. Majority of OHS checkpoints are 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. and they target the outlets because it's a high volume of J1 students. If you've noticed, we don't have the J1 population as in years past. They're specifically up towards the outlets, so that's where DelDOT likes to focus. We usually do our traffic checkpoints, our bike safety checkpoints, very early in the morning because it's very hot. A lot of people are out. They don't like to come out and ride their bikes. If they do, they're going east and west, and we were trying to catch people going north and south. We're having our first one tomorrow morning. We've been going on since April 22nd between my schedule and John's from OHS. We can't get it together, and he doesn't work on Fridays. And again, which I understand, Rehoboth has had a lot of accidents involving pedestrians and bicyclists with J1 students up by the outlets, so we're kind of in the second area of concern.
The cities?
Route 1, right by the outlets. Tomorrow morning from 8 to 11, we're going to be located at Wellington Parkway and Pennsylvania Avenue as in years past. That's the good spot where we get a lot of people. We're recognized. Everybody knows that we're there. We're doing that tomorrow from 8 to 11. The second one we're going to have is going to be Friday, August 5th, and that's going to be 8 to 11. These just happen to be, we're kind of short-handed, the full-time officers. These are my days that I work day work. Friday, August 5th is going to be busy, and I'm going to have, OHS is out, so it's just me, and I have 2 seasonal officers that were there last year that are very squared away and very friendly. I'm bringing them back tomorrow, and I'm bringing them back next week. So if anybody wants to help out, tomorrow's going to be a 108-degree heat index. I plan on bringing 2 uniforms, and I'm working 16 hours tomorrow. That's how I'm going to start my day. So if anybody wants to help out, I would encourage you to come tomorrow, 8 to 11. I'll have a pop-up tent. We're going to have a table. We got 350 lights designated for both these checkpoints. We got rid of the the pre-assembled ones, where I'd sit in here in the air conditioning and actually assemble the lights, and you could attach them with a Phillips head. These are a lot more easier to install. They're pretty rubber bands. They strap across. It's going to take 2 seconds. I know a meeting, I believe last year, we had concerns about education rather than just throwing on bike lights and leaving. So I'm going to have some officers, I'm going to be strictly educating people that come and stop and that want to answer questions. Unfortunately, like I said, we don't have Del-Dot OHS helping us, which have information booths. They have helmet sizing and stuff like that, and they have informational pamphlets for local bikeways, pathways, Cape Pendleton, and all that stuff. We just don't have that asset this year, but tomorrow morning, 8 to 11, answer your question, and then Friday, August 5th, 8 to 11, Wellington Parkway in Pennsylvania Ave. Yeah, so we do it every year. Usually we reach out to the Coastal Point. The Coastal Point kind of advertises. I'm going to do something this evening for our social media handles to just say we'll be out there. Last year, I think our booth, so we had a booth and then OHS had a booth. Everybody said, I saw the Instagram post last night. We came out here. My daughter reminded me. So that's been a great tool. After we have tomorrow, I'm going to get some pictures, and I'm going to send them to the Coastal Point and just say, this is what the town of Bethany is doing. And then we're also having another one in case anybody missed it. August 5th is the big rental week, so that's where we target most of the rentals. It's the heavy rental week. So that's when we usually do the advertisement, because there's more people that stop at the checkpoint.
Do you want to put a paragraph on listserv, Julie? Okay. Okay.
Pennsylvania Avenue and Wellington Parkway.
But only if it's 108.
It'll be 108. I guarantee you, if you mention that at the concert tonight, there'll be 12 people in line waiting at 7:45. I guarantee you that'll happen.
Free stuff.
Free stuff.
Free stuff.
They need to bring bikes, and I don't know if you knew that. They need to bring the bikes, and we physically install, we just don't hand them out, because that gets out of control. Yeah. Sure, yeah.
And include the August 5th date. And Del-Dot and the state is not providing resources because they're busy north?
So John specifically, me and his schedule,
Are
I
conflicting.
usually spit out 4 or 5 dates, and he says I can do these too. He does Delaware State Fair, so this time of year, they put him where they need to send
Right.
him. I think South Bethany, I actually referred them a couple weeks ago. I think he was actually too busy to go help them down there as well. So it's not just us. He actually volunteered, I think tomorrow, that he would come 8 to 11 and then hang out in the area with 2 of his employees to stick around to the event at 4 in Rehoboth. And they're there from 4 to 11 or 4 to 7 p.m. And I just felt that was a long day, so I said, we'll take care of this ourselves.
Okay.
It's something that we can handle. It's just great to have them
Sure.
because they provide better stuff, stickers and reflectors and stuff like that. We just give
Sometimes
out
they
the-
forget the quiet resorts
They do.
because we're the quiet resort.
They do. I'm loud enough that I keep them. They know who I am.
Okay.
That's it. That's all the updates for the police department.
Is there
I had one other thing. I was going to just mention that I think that there are a lot of people riding bikes on the sidewalk on 26. And has there been any thought, or is there any ability to repaint the, no bikes on sidewalk?
Yes. The police department's in the process of doing that. It's sort of a mixed thing, because as soon as we paint them, people want to know why we don't enforce it, and we really don't enforce it because 26 itself is so unsafe. And it's hard for the police department to make the distinction between the family with children. I mean, what family is going to take their child, regardless of age, and put them in the bike lane on Route 26? So it's not ideal for us at all, and it's very difficult to enforce. But the red logo should be painted again here in the next couple of weeks. The ones as we previously had there, so.
26 is difficult.
And not ours, so it's very difficult for anything to happen on it, so.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, anything? Julie? Terry, anything? Okay.
Okay.
Well, if that's it, is there a movement? Oh, do have one question. When will we have our next meeting? Are we waiting for something to occur for us to have it? I mean, like the grant or?
We queued up some things that, and we asked Faith if she would have a meeting, so things that had come to fruition we wanted to tell you about. So we'll see what happens with that, and if there's any movement here with development, because there's a public input process that's part of the action plan development.
Okay.
So something like that may happen here quickly, but as soon as we have more to share, I think we'll call for a meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll ask for a meeting and see if Faith will schedule that.
Okay, and then once we have the logo, we can decide if you're doing hats or T-shirts?
Hats and T-shirts.
I got promises for a hat. I don't know about the rest of
Well,
it.
you asked for a car, Dan, so.
We have to have you model it, Dan.
I would be happy to do that.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Done.
Excellent. Nice meeting.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
Progress.
Great logos.
Yeah.
Pretty fast.